Many of us have seen the Schoolhouse Rock version of how a bill becomes law, but we all know that what happens in the real world is a lot different. This presentation will show you what NJBIA does on behalf of businesses and where we fit into the Schoolhouse Rock version of things. There are a lot of people involved in making laws. There are 40 state senators. They need 21 votes, a majority, to pass a piece of legislation. The General Assembly has 80 seats, so a majority in the lower house is 41 votes. That's 120 state legislators involved in the process. And don't forget the major role played by the governor's office. There are also lobbyists. Thousands of registered lobbyists and hundreds of groups representing many diverse interests are doing all they can to influence the state's 120 legislators into giving them or their clients what they want. The New Jersey Business and Industry Association is one of those groups representing the 20,000 companies that are members of NJBIA. As the nation's largest statewide employer-based organization, we know the problems you face: high health insurance premiums, overregulation, and of course, high taxes. NJBIA works to stop overtaxation and regulation while promoting economic growth policies that help businesses succeed. We have a staff of 8 government affairs professionals whose job it is to make New Jersey a better place for your company, and we employ a number of different tactics to make sure we get our ideas across to the people who will decide the laws you and I will have to live with. The idea stage is an opportunity for NJBIA to present specific problems and concerns to lawmakers. Our member businesses are great at identifying unnecessary regulations, senseless bureaucracy, and laws that increase the cost of doing business. Or maybe they just have a better, more efficient way for government to do things. At the early stage of the legislative process, we engage our members to gain information and real-life scenarios. We use issue-specific policy committees on topics like taxation, health insurance, and labor law mandates. These meet on a regular basis to provide valuable insight and a business perspective to state legislators. And we have numerous forums where our members get the opportunity to meet state senators and General Assembly people. ELCs, regular local meetings throughout the state. Site visits, where we bring an official to your facility for a guided tour, and one-on-one conversation. And information using our magazine, our website, and our daily e-newsletter, New Jersey Business Today, to keep members informed. After all, you can't help us analyze issues if you don't know what's going on. NJBIA then brings specific solutions directly to lawmakers. Over the years, we have created new laws that make New Jersey better, like making it easier to clean up contaminated properties so they can be used again, changing taxes so small businesses get the same benefits as large corporations, reforming job training programs so small businesses can participate, as well as several regulatory reform initiatives, all thanks to the ideas of our member companies. But we don't stop there. Thousands of bills get introduced every year, and our government affairs team goes through each piece of legislation to determine its potential impact on our economy. We work with legislators on developing the right language to make sure our members' concerns are addressed. For bills we oppose, we try to offer constructive alternatives that would allow lawmakers to achieve their goal, but without hurting employers. Sometimes we are able to get bill sponsors to make changes. If not, we go to the chairs of the legislative committees considering the bill. NJBIA offers alternatives and proposes compromises, and if the chair of a particular committee is receptive, it's in the interest of the bill sponsor to work with us. Your BIA team testifies before a committee to explain how the provisions of a particular bill will either help or hurt the state's economy. Sometimes we will get a bill held, that is, held over to a future meeting. Often this means that legislators are concerned about some aspects of the bill and want time to make changes before voting on it. NJBIA organizes coalitions of like-minded organizations to speak up and speak out on actions impacting the job creators in our state, like we did for the paid sick leave mandate. If a bill is voted out of committee, then it's ready for a floor vote, but NJBIA is not done. This is when we reach out to all legislators, the 80 members of the General Assembly and/or 40 members of the State Senate. Our staff meets individually with many legislators to explain why they should vote yes or no on a particular bill, and we put our arguments in writing in what are known as desk letters, which are distributed to all lawmakers right before a voting session. And when it's really an important matter affecting our community, we pull out all the stops and get companies deeply involved. We send out member alerts encouraging businesses to write, email, or call their local representatives in Trenton. There is no better person to lobby a senator or assembly person than someone who can vote for them or against them on Election Day. If the measure makes it through both houses, the process is not done. A bill still needs the approval of the governor to become law. As an institution, New Jersey's governor is one of the most powerful in the nation. Among other things, a governor has 4 options when considering what to do with legislation that reaches his or her desk: sign it into law, veto it outright, use the line item veto on budget items, or issue a conditional veto. A conditional veto allows the governor to reject a measure but offers specific changes to it that he or she would approve. If the legislature accepts these changes, the bill becomes law. If not, it's just another legislative initiative that was not approved. NJBIA spends as much time working with the governor's office on legislation as we do working with legislators. We regularly review our top issues with the governor's chief of staff, chief counsel, and other top advisors, making our case for or against a measure long before it reaches the chief executive's desk. In many instances, amendments that NJBIA could not get approved during the legislative process make it into a conditional veto from the governor. At least one house of the legislature is up for election every other year. Early January following the election, a new legislature is sworn in, and all of the old bills that have not been approved are tossed out. In other words, the whole process begins again. In recent years, NJBIA has had a great number of legislative successes on behalf of our members in the policy-making arena. Here are just a few examples of some issues we've tackled as advocates for businesses like yours with each outcome. That concludes our presentation. I hope I've shed some light on what NJBIA does on behalf of its members for a business like yours, and maybe it inspires you to get more involved in what is going on with state government. If you're interested in becoming an active, engaged member of the NJBIA grassroots effort, please go to our website, njbia.org, and click on the Advocacy tab.